Welcome to WDEX. I'm back. That's right. I'm back. It's been a little bit, and I'm going to explain all that to you. But yes, I am Todd Saylor, and I'm back. I'm the author of the book, The Attitude and the Brand Wired Differently. And my job is to love you. My job is to encourage you. My job is to teach you a few things. My job is maybe even just remind you of a few things. My job is a lot of things, but most of all, I want to impact you. And your job is to sit back and think about things differently. I need you to kind of sit back and just relax a little bit, but I want you to be, do, and think differently about things. Because the show's job is to challenge you, to challenge the status quo. The show's job is to dare you not to be average. Now, I've been away for a while, and I'm just so glad to see all these numbers popping up. I had the COVID. I just want to get it out. I had the COVID. I thought that I thought that I wasn't ever going to get the COVID. I thought that maybe I was just impervious to the COVID. I thought a lot of things about the COVID schmovid. But I just want to let you all know that that's why I've been away for over 3 weeks. And I'm eager to get back. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I put something together last week, and I got to tell you, I spoke to Manchester University, and things went really good. And I had this thought in my mind, the power to finish. And I wanted to teach these young men the power to finish. And I got to tell you, I was really challenged with the COVID. I was really challenged, not only that, I was a little bit humbled that I even got it. I had this thing about me that I just didn't think I was capable of getting it. And I was challenged to actually get through the sickness. You see, the sickness was a challenge in itself. The sickness was something I had to finish through. I had to work through. I had to think through. And all I could do was sleep and feel sick and take my temperature and do my blood level reading in my finger every 30 seconds. It was kind of a crazy ordeal. So I want to let you all know that I know what that COVID feels like. I know what you all been through, some of you that have been through. Then those of you who haven't been through there, I want to encourage you and give you the power to finish. I want you to give you the power, those of you maybe having the COVID right now and listening. I want you to understand that that's life. We get sick, we get through it. But there's a little bit different thing about the COVID schmovid when you're laying in bed and you've got a headache and you're not feeling very well and you don't want to eat, and a lot of things are just kind of different. Because I've been sick before, right? I've been sick before. Matter of fact, I've been sicker than I was with the COVID. But you didn't really have that thought in the back of your mind that you had a friend or a family member that was feeling this exact same way before they had to have the ventilator. And so you're wondering to yourself, is this how they felt? Is this how it began? Am I going to die? So I guess I just want to be a little more sensitive to those people that have been out there and had this COVID. And I want you to know that those things that go through your mind, I want to encourage any of you that have got it or getting it, you will get through it. I want to give you the power to finish in that regards. I want you to understand that you take your medicines, you do the things you need to do, get rest, and you will get through it. Statistically, you're going to be just fine. It's better off than many of these other things out there. But I do want you to know it's normal to think about those things. It's normal to feel like something bad is going to happen. I think we get things in the back of our mind, and we get to thinking negative thoughts, and we get to go into certain places, and we're wondering if we're an anomaly, if we're a statistic, or if we've been doing things wrong. And I'll tell you what, I talked to our Father more than I talked to him in a long time when I was laying there in the bed with the COVID. And I lost 20 pounds. So let me tell you something. Even good can come from bad, but I just want you to know that that's where I've been. That's what I've been through, and I want to get on with this message here. I want to give you the power to finish, and I want to give you a message. I want to be back with this podcast, and I want to be back on a regular routine. You see, we realized we went 26 weeks without a missed show. and I need to finish. I need the power to finish. You see, the greatest leaders of all time were great finishers. The greatest accomplishment of people of all time have been great finishers. And I think a lot of us think about how are we going to finish? How are we going to get through the COVID? How are we going to get through these times? How are we going to get these bills paid? How are we going to do all these things that need to get done in these uncertain times? Now, this is not where I wanted to go with this, but I wanted to build it up and let you understand that we all need this power to finish. You are not exempt of the call to power to finish. You are not someone that can sit here and listen and say, hey, I don't need to finish. You need to finish. So one of the things I want to talk to you about, I went to Manchester College last Wednesday and I spoke to the football team. And the football team was a great group of men, and we got to talk about them finishing school, finishing football, and doing these things. And I started off with, hey, before you guys all understand the need, the power to finish, I want to give you the biggest secret in life that anyone could ever tell you right now. And that is, if you want to understand the power to finish, then I need you to understand the power of what you want. Because if you don't understand the power of what you want, then there's no need for the power to finish. You see, Wired Differently, the book Wired Differently, my first book, Leveraging Your Favors on Fulcrum Principles, was all about the power of the want, the power of understanding your success, the power of understanding your power. And the second book that we're going to talk about right now is called Drift Again. So if we're going to understand the power to finish, I think I've got to explain to you all the power to start, right? So the power to start is the simple question. Do you even know what you want? Do you even know what you want? I got 120-year-olds out there in the stadium listening what I'm going to say, but I said, I'm not going to tell you how to finish anything until I got to tell you how to know what you want. So number one, the power to finish leads us to this idea, the power to know what we want, the power to start. So here you go. The number one thing I want you to understand in the power to finish is, do you even know what you want? Do you even know what you want? I want you to understand that you can have anything in this world, most anything in this world, object, idea, business, friendship. You can have anything in this world if you want, but you can't get it unless you actually really know what you want. Most high schoolers, most college students, most entrepreneurial people, most business people are focused on so many things that they really can't focus on what they really want. And one of the things we discovered in Wired Differently is that our gift of being wired differently is that we do leverage this ability to know what we want. So if you want to finish something, you got to know exactly what you want to start. So the power of knowing what you want is a whole nother message, but I want you to know, do you want that car? Do you want that house? Do you want that job? We got a great speech in the past. Do you want that girl? Get the wife, get the husband. What do you want? And that once you have that isolated, now we can talk about how to finish. So while we're talking about Wired Differently, I just wrote a book not even 2 years ago called Wired Differently, Leveraging Your Favors on the 7 Fulcrum Principles. And one of the neat things about that book was the first chapter really isolated my ideas and my thoughts about drifting and where I was attacked by even Satan or demons or however you look at things, and caused me to drift away from that very principle of knowing what I wanted. Because the power of finish really is based on, 1, knowing what you want, and 2, not drifting. Not drifting. We as human beings drift a lot. We drift often. In Wired Differently, we spoke on the entire drift and how to conquer it and to move through it, to understand knowing what you want and to recapturing your life and your times and your mind and your business and even your family by not drifting and conquering that. The next book I wrote, which is going to be out May 31st this year, I'm so excited about it, is called Drift Again, 8 Traits of Supremely Purposeful People, right? And so as I talked about drifting the first time around in the first book, I focused the entire first chapter, or the number one trait of supremely purposeful people, is this idea that if drifted once before like we all do, we drift again. And we embrace this collateral damage to others from drifting again. But we're focused on what we want. We're focused on how to be supremely purposeful in our mindset and where we're going with things, because we want to supercharge that subconscious. So what I wanted to do was just kind of set up this power to finish with a reading, the actual short intro of my book, Drift Again, 8 Traits of Supremely Powerful People. And this is, instead of telling the story, I thought I would just read it right out of the book and have some fun with that. And then we're going to teach on this so just a little bit. And we're going to close with a couple quotes and how to get to the power of finish. So here's the intro to the first book. You guys are the first to hear this. Only a couple people have read this, my readers. I think this is going to be pretty cool. So here is the intro story to Wired Differently, Drift Again, 8 Traits of Supremely Purposeful People. The year was 1977. I was 12 when my family moved to Angola, Indiana. We just left Hudson, Michigan, where my father had been the head football coach of the winningest high school coach in the nation as well. What was about to transpire became the most defining moment in my formative Wired Differently journey. That evening, my dad insisted that I go with him to watch Fremont High School play a larger school from across the state. Since I played football, not basketball, I had no desire to watch the game, let alone a team from another school. Dad, I protested, why do I need to go? I don't care about the game or the basketball game at all. My dad replied, come on, Butch. I want you to see this. Get in the car and let's go. I had no real choice but to obey him. He was, after all, my dad, and I respected him more than anyone. I first put on my Angola Hornets t-shirt and out the door I went. As we drove across the snowy road towards the Fremont High Gym, I couldn't help but wonder, what's the big deal? We arrived late, so the only place to sit was on the bleachers right along the court. When we walked in, it was obvious to the crowd that my dad and I were, if not the bad guys, then definitely from another school. As we made our way past the cheerleaders and the Eagle mascots in our seats, we had to endure the kind of taunts you might expect from high schoolers, you know, like down in front, go back to Angola, this is Eagle country. As we sat, my dad said, never mind them, son. We got work to do. Work? I thought we were here to watch basketball. What kind of work? I want you to watch these Fremont Eagle boys play the game. Well, why? I asked, confused. We're here for a purpose. Just focus on the game, son. The Fremont team was a rural squad with small roster. The next 40 minutes flew by as I watched these farm boys battle against a much larger team. I didn't see a lot of great basketball moves, but I did witness the Fremont squad play with amazing, relentless hustle. They sprinted, dove, leapt, screamed, fought, and even bled as they pressed the other team. I had never seen anything like this in my life. A heroic, spellbinding, remarkable display of determination, of going the distance, efforts that they kept up to the very last second of the game. They played their guts out and practically collapsed with exhaustion when the final buzzer sounded just as they scored the winning point. They did it. On the drive home, my father looked at me. So, son, after that exciting win and all that basketball, why do you think I brought you here? What did you learn? Seemed like a trick question. My dad was known for his trick questions. Dad, I'm not sure. I guess I learned how to play basketball, do whatever it takes to help my teammates, be relentless, not care what others think, but instead focus on the game and never quit until the end. Never, never quit. Must go to the end no matter what. My father pulled over to the side of the road at this point. He put the car in park and calmly regarded me. Not quite, son. Not quite. And he paused a beat. Then he said to me, it's how I want you to live your entire life. need you to finish what you start. So when I think about this, and I think about what goes on in the things my father have taught me in the past, and I'm just blown away. I'm just blown away. Because one of the greatest things in my life that has made me and helped me be successful was my ability to finish. And how would my father even know, maybe, or I would know, that a story like this would impact me the rest of my life? Because here's what I want you to understand. There's only one more thing in life that's more important than winning. There's only one thing in life that's more important than winning, and that's finishing. I mean, honestly, I know winning isn't everything, and people tell you that. You know why they tell you that? Well, let me tell you why they tell you that. Because winning isn't everything. Finishing is. There's only one thing more important in life than winning. I mean, we have to win or we're not going to eat. We have to win or we're not going to get paid. We have to win or we're not going to get friends. We have to win or we're not going to survive in this world. We have to win at something. But there's only one thing that's more important than winning. There's only one thing in this world that's ever going to benefit you more than winning, because we need to finish before we can win. If we don't finish, even in losses, we can't get that much closer to winning. So I want you to understand that my father shared this time with me in his almost prophecy way to show me what life should look like. Play hard, jump, scrape, even bleed, jump in the stands, push, shove, fight, do what you've got to do, but play to the buzzer. Don't stop. Don't finish. Be relentless. You must finish. He didn't even care that they won the game. He wanted me to see how they finished. He wanted me to see how they played. He wanted me to see how they bled. He wanted me to see how they played together. He wanted me to see how they jumped and cried and fought and did all these things. He wanted me to see all that, because then he wanted me to hear him say this: that's not how I want you to play football. That's not how I want you to play basketball. That's how I want you to live life. Every day you breathe, son, you have to be that purpose, supremely purposeful. Son, the power to finish is the keys to life. All greatness comes from the power to finish. All greatness comes from the power to finish. See this? After I gave him a version of that speech, the power to finish, I handed this watch front and back out to every one of the players to pass around. Because you see, to have the power to finish, you have to have an edge. You have to have an edge. If you don't have an edge, a psychological edge, you're not going to have that. Let alone the power to finish. You're not going to have the ability to even compete. You have to have a psychological edge. The power to finish is built around not drifting, and it's built around finishing and understanding the lesson I just shared with you. But it's also built around this psychological edge. And so I handed this watch to the very first player at Manchester University, and I handed him the watch, and he looked at the watch. I said, now pass this around. This is a $20 million watch, gold watch, a $20 million gold watch. Here it is. That's it. And as they were passing it around, I'm just going to put it away right here, right now. I watched him as they passed it around like this. And I said, you need an edge. And so while they're passing the watch around, I said, you need an edge. If you want to compete in life, if you want to be successful in life, and if you want to finish, if you want to have the power to finish, you need an edge. Every winner has an edge. And I said, you know what I did? Every time I went on that football field to catch a pass, and I had some records and then whatever, I was pretty good. And I said, listen, here's what I did. I licked my fingers. I licked my fingers. Why? Because it gave me a psychological edge. I knew if the moisture was just right, the ball could never get through these hands. I practiced it. I always knew. So every play, I licked my fingers. And when I went on that scrimmage line to take that pass, they didn't all come to me. Well, it made me mad when they didn't. But the ones that did, I caught. I knew psychologically, throw me the ball. Throw me the ball. Throw me the ball. I had that edge. And so I want you all to understand the psychological edge. And I want to explain something to you that this is my edge also. And this is what I wanted those young men to see. And I want you to understand that this is a $20 million watch. And why is it $20 million watch? Because I passed the watch around and I said, listen to me, man. While you're talking about this, I want you to understand that this watch was given to me by my grandfather, Lorraine. You see, Lorraine was born in 1910. Amazing man. And his father was a farmer. His father was a farmer, a vegetable farmer. And Lorraine knew that his life existence was going to be to pick vegetables. Right? He knew that his life was going to be to pick vegetables. And he decided at the age of 20 that he was going to leave who he was to become who he wanted to be. He needed to leave who he was to become who he wanted to be. And he told me that he left that farm to drive for Standard Oil. And he drove for Standard Oil for 40 years. Because that was the best at the time that he could be. He knew he didn't want to be a vegetable picker, but he knew that if he could get out there and get his own truck and work for Standard Oil, he could at least live his standard of living and get out there to be who he wanted to be. He wanted to leave the vegetable picking to become an entrepreneurial truck driver for Standard Oil. Now you can understand those times and the way they were. And he did it for 40 years. He handed me this watch. And he said, grandson Todd, call me son. Son, this watch is for you. I want to give you this watch because I want you to understand I'm not giving you this watch for what it has done for me. Because at the end of my 40 years of delivering oil for Standard Oil, this is all they gave me. After 40 years of continued service, I never missed a day. I never did anything but give them my heart and soul. But after 40 years, all they gave me was this damn watch. So, son, I'm not giving you this watch for what it did for me, but I want to give you this watch to inspire you for what it didn't do for me. 40 years for a gold watch is not what you're going to do because you're better than that. Times are changing. Things are changing. You can do better than that. You're going to do things on your own, your way. You're going to do things on your own with your own 401k. You're going to do things with your own on your own ROA, your own investments, your own ways to do things. And don't go on the Facebook. Don't go to the Manchester football. Don't go on the social media, the Twitter or the Instagram or any of that stuff until you earn and make yourself worth more than $20 million. And then you can show these people what this edge did for you, son. You pass it around to those football players. You show them on the social media and you say, this is what the edge did for you. This is what your grandfather did for you. He said, don't settle. You need the power to finish and you need to change who you are, Todd, to become who you wanted to be. Don't settle to be a vegetable picker. Don't settle to only just be a donut maker. Don't settle for any of those things. You need to go forward and change who you are to become who you want to be. You see, listen, a lot of us don't understand, but we don't have to be just like our parents. We don't have to be just like our grandfathers. We don't have to be exactly like the culture that we grew up in. The power to finish is steeped in our ability to change who we are to become who we want to be. I had a lot of young men in that stands, that football team, from all different backgrounds, socioeconomic different classes. Some of them may have been vegetable farmers too. Some of them may have came from environments that are just not healthy. Some of them may have came from perfect environments that may not be healthy either. But the challenge for you today and the challenge for them today, and clearly I'm going off script, but is that are you willing, even at the ripe age of 55, Todd, to change who you are today to become who I want to be tomorrow? Are you willing to change Mr. 22-year-old man out there if you really want to go get the job, if you really want to go get the career, if you really want to go do those things, are you willing? And I'm going, I love it. Smile with me because the COVID is behind me. Get behind me, COVID, because he's not going to stop me, because I'm going to tell you exactly, if you really want to get those things, you've got to get it in your head. You've got to get your edge, and you have to be willing to change who you are to become who you want to be. And if you're willing to change who you are to become who you want to be, then you got your edge. And I'm giving you the power to finish with this watch. Now, metaphorically, my grandfather didn't tell me to make $20 million. He didn't have any concept of that kind of money back then. Nobody did, for that matter, for the many purposes. But he did tell me to go get it. He did give me this watch. And I'm empowering you to go get your dream. I'm empowering you to change who you are, become who you want to be. Because if you're willing to do that, you can have anything in the world that you want. Just know what it is. $20 million watch. All right. Well, listen, it was a good show tonight. I'm glad you hung out with me. I had to dust off some of the rust and make some things happen. At the beginning of this show, I had no internet. I had no power. Everything shut down on me here in Angola. I have a remote office. I got cameras. I got things everywhere. If you could see this place I set up to try and make this happen, I apologize for starting 15 minutes late. But I was not going to not do this broadcast because I'd taken roughly 3 weeks off. And I needed to change who I was, become who I wanted to be, because we're wired differently, right? We're going to do these things called life together. We are called to do this, right? We're called to be overcomers. We're called to have the power to finish. And if you don't have that power to finish in your mind right now and are not supremely purposeful about it, you're not going to be that person. You got your edge now, you got your watch, and now you understand your calling. We are called to overcome this world, and we're going to do it wired differently. That's right. So happy Sunday to all of you. I'm super proud of you. Thanks for tuning in. We had a lot of people hang in there for this message. It was kind of a wonky kind of through the thing, and I kind of got myself back in the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of you, and I'll see you next Sunday. So, hey, the power to finish. Are you willing to change who you are to become who you want to be? I think you are. So let's do this thing called life.